Um, Putin could end the Ukraine war tomorrow, says Kamala Harris on the Ukraine-Russia war. Let's take a look
Louise
at what she had
Thompson
to say.
speaking there. Let's take you live to the White House. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy is speaking tonight alongside the US Vice President and Democratic presidential nominee Kamala Harris, who is speaking now.
Thanks to this coalition and the skill and the bravery of the Ukrainian people, along with your courageous leadership, President Zelenskyy, Ukraine has stood up to Russia's aggression, and today, Kyiv stands free and strong. President Zelenskyy, I am clear. Putin started this war, and he could end it tomorrow if he simply withdrew his troops from Ukraine's sovereign territory. Of course, he has demonstrated no intention of doing that. Instead, he continues to assault civilian infrastructure and terrorize the people of Ukraine. In Switzerland in June, along with 90 other nations at the Ukraine Peace Conference, I told you that the United States shares your vision for the end of this war, an end based on the will of the people of Ukraine.
Funny you can say the same thing about Israel. Yeah, except we also don't have a way to get Putin to stand down. All we can do, because given Russia's foreign adversary status, we have already done the fucking stick. All we have in our disposal at this point is to try to go to the table and have a normal fucking conversation. But that's like it's just never gonna even. I don't foresee that happening anytime soon. But with Israel, we are supplying Israel with the weapons. Like, can you imagine a world we were supplying Russia with the weapons? And then we kept saying, like, Russia, please stop. Russia, please stop. Everyone would be like, what the fuck are you saying? Russia, please stop. Stop giving them weapons, dumbass. The fuck do you mean, Russia, please stop? Okay? So we do have the actual power to put a stop to the Israeli genocide, but that would require us to do the normal thing, the reasonable thing, which is to, stop giving Israel unlimited amounts of weapons. Yeah. But what have we done? As Mike from PA correctly points out, days after at least that U.S. aid said Israel was committing war crimes by blocking humanitarian aid, Biden-Harris promised another $8.7 billion in weapons. Our reward? Israel rejects the U.S. ceasefire proposal in Lebanon. I'm actually shocked at how bad the Harris camp is treating this. Like, it is shocking how bad America is behaving in this situation. Do you think it would stop if Israel stopped getting weapons? Yes, it would. I don't understand why people go, no, dude, America is a small bean in this. Like, it's a junior partner in this coalition. But also, America still is supplying like 90% of the fucking weapons to Israel. What are you talking about? They keep running out of bombs, dude. What the fuck do you mean? Like, that's what's so insane about this. And before you go, oh, would Iran and its proxy stop? Dude, I'm sorry. Okay, but I cannot treat that sentiment with anything but, I cannot treat that sentence as anything but just pure vile Islamophobia at this point, because in spite of like Iran or Hezbollah's domestic affairs or their treatment of fucking gay people or whatever, Iran and Hezbollah have collectively been infinitely more restrained than Israel in this entire process. Okay? What the fuck? Like, so much so that even American media has recognized the restraint Iran demonstrated in its lack of retaliation to Israel. Israel tricked both the U.S. and France on the ceasefire proposal. Yeah, it's so funny. The reason why I was talking about the Ezra Klein thing was because, like, him and the other journalists that were having this conversation about Benjamin Netanyahu were, like, both shocked at the disrespect that Benjamin Netanyahu demonstrates on a regular fucking basis against its American allies. Like, they literally were just like, he's so like openly conniving, and it doesn't make any sense. Like, I think liberal Zionists and like Zionists across the board, unless they're like straight up Likud or further right, don't understand, like, unless they're Likud and further right, which, by the way, if you go further right than Likud, you're just operating on Jewish supremacist attitudes, like, the Kahanis and the like, obviously. So that's like an entirely different fucking can of worms. But like people who are to the left, at least, who are still Zionists, who still want an apartheid, are like, what the fuck is Benjamin Netanyahu doing? Like, they don't understand it. They're like they like that he's bombing Lebanon, but they're also simultaneously like, how the fuck is he just like doing all this shit to America? Riley Withany, thank you for the tier 1 gifted subs. And yeah, ultimately, I think the United States of America is a willing participant in this. They like it. They just like doing evil shit. They like the death and destruction. It makes no other sense. Like it's I don't know what to tell you. They like it. They like the death. They like the destruction. They enjoy watching fucking children get ruthlessly slaughtered with our weapons. It doesn't make any sense. Is Common Thing helping Israel bring up her numbers? No, dude. No, she doesn't. Okay, there's not a single person who legitimately believes that there is an electoral calculation here in like accelerating Israel's genocide. I'm sorry. No, of course not. That's a lie, and it's not. It's such a glaringly obvious lie that like the media doesn't even say that for the most part. The most they do is just like omit how the voters analyze the situation, and then the most they do is basically omit how most voters want there to be a ceasefire, and the media will at the very most report that like people don't care enough about Israel, right? In an effort to be like, yeah, don't look the other way, don't look at that. In terms of like what they're doing, I mean, in terms of like their shitty instincts here, this is a great example of this. Alex Soros linked up with Tim Walz in New York City. And besides like the obviously like George Soros conspiracies, Alex Soros, George Soros' son, obviously is a massive Democratic Party mega donor. Why the fuck is Tim Walz linking up with a massive Democratic Party mega donor? What the fuck are you doing? Like, why are you openly hugging and kissing your donors? Like, what the fuck's wrong with you? Jeet here says, 100% agree. I'd add that it's very strange that Harris and Walz are spending the home stretch of a close election hugging the donor class so tightly. I just don't understand it. Just like I don't understand why she's talking about like cryptocurrencies or whatever. They're like getting their marks from Donald Trump. They literally seemingly are just hearing whatever the fuck Donald Trump says and then repeating it. And it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. It's weird because all of the best instincts of like the Democratic Party are just cast aside. All the goodwill that they got, all the progressive momentum that they got by swapping out, responding to public pressure that align with donor pressure on the Biden swap out, and then picking fucking Tim Walz as their running mate. They have basically just spent every waking moment since then doing everything in their fucking power to be like, no, this is the establishment Democrats. Like, we are right wing. We are so right. We are the most right wing. We want a lethal military. We want to do border patrol. It doesn't make any sense to me. They've also packed up Tim Walz. No motion from Tim. Okay. Tim is cast aside, even though he was a phenomenal asset to the campaign from an electoral calculus point of view. And they're learning all the fucking wrong lessons if they even care about it at all. I don't even think that they give a shit specifically about like winning or losing. I think they're just like on autopilot. And like, I don't think there's an electoral calculation here at all. I think they're just like, we're going to win this no matter what, regardless. So even if we make it close, it doesn't fucking matter. As long as we as long as we spend all of our time, not it all about winning. No, dude, it is not all about winning. Please stop. Please fucking stop. No, I don't think it's all about winning. I think it's more so about like advancing a neoliberal project that they care significantly more about. I don't think that they are genuinely invested in winning. I think they see that they're winning, and so they're using the capital that they have, what remains of the amount of social capital that they have still, the crumbs of it all, because they are going to win, to demonstrate that their pathway forward is still going to be third way neoliberalism, which is, I think, stupid. And I think it's stupid because you are carelessly and unnecessarily throwing this election in a bind for no reason, you know? Winning, we can go farther right. Losing, we need to go farther right to win. Yeah.
And the UN Charter, and that we must work with the international community to secure a just and lasting peace. And I told world leaders there, nothing about the end of this war can be decided without Ukraine. However,
yeah, this time around, Kamala Harris will win, and then next time around, it'll be a straight up fucking fascist. Okay? I mean, she's already got she's already doing a genocide, okay? A willing participant. I'm sorry. There's no reason to fucking mince words here. She absolutely is fully on board and fully chalk committed. She has not made any inferences to a different attitude or a different approach to the way that we are examining our relationship with Israel. People try to read the tea leaves, but she very clearly keeps saying, like, no, Israel has a right to defend itself. We're going to have the fucking strong dick military. I don't give a shit. And that's it. If you look over the Vance dossier, be careful because there's a section that shows his personal information like his address and phone number. Yeah, I'm not going to look over the Vance dossier. I don't really care. His opposition is like literally laid out to bear regardless. But I do think it's funny that Mr. Free Speech fucking banned Ken Klippenstein for publishing it.
However, in candor, I share with you, Mr. President, there are some in my country who would instead force Ukraine to give up large parts of its sovereign territory, who would demand that Ukraine accept neutrality and would require Ukraine to forego security relationships with other nations. These proposals are the same of those of Putin. And let us be clear, they are not proposals for peace. Instead, they are proposals for surrender, which is dangerous and unacceptable. So, President Zelenskyy, I look forward to our discussion today, and I will continue to work with you to ensure Ukraine prevails in this conflict and remains a free, democratic, and independent nation. Welcome back again.
Thank you so much. Madam.
I'm just saying this and leaving. I don't care if you read it. Your mods gave me a timeout yesterday because of what I said against you were saying at the live, and I got a red flag, and now I have to explain myself everywhere I go. As an Iranian with that username, it's not cool at all. I disagree with right-wingers all the time. No one has done that to me. What are you saying? A red flag? Salam from Iran. What is it? You got a red name, and you have to explain yourself? Bro, we were watching a fucking innocent man get, like, the Missouri government execute an innocent man. I don't give a fuck about you, like, talking about how, I don't give a fuck about your opinion on capital punishment in that moment. I just don't know what you mean when you say you got a red flag.
Vice President, thanks for the invitation. Happy to see you. Dear journalists, I want to especially thank you for your...
Wasn't there a ton of evidence that showed he was actually guilty? No, there was a ton of evidence. There was a ton of lack of evidence that showed that he wasn't guilty. If you're talking about his fucking priors, it makes no damn sense. Like, yeah, he had priors for robbery, okay? He did not have a prior for fucking stabbing someone 43 times. He also did not have any fucking DNA on the scene or on the knife. And they mishandled the DNA on the knife anyway. The prosecutors themselves fucking admitted that they messed up. That is unique, okay? it is unique when you have the prosecutorial team be like, this guy is most likely innocent. Can we please not kill him? The family of the victim was, the family of the victim said he was innocent. The prosecutor said he was innocent. Jurors came out and said he was innocent. Doesn't get more fucking innocent than that. How the fuck do you try and justify it after the fact?
Participation in the peace summit, and really it was very important, and we remember it. The format was successful. We are preparing.
Maybe I just came across some misinfo. Someone telling me his girlfriend testified that he admitted it to her. Yes, she fucking lied, okay? There was a jailhouse confession, which happens quite frequently when there's a fucking reward or lenient sentencing for confession. And the girlfriend also fucking lied about it. There was a private investigator that was actually following the girlfriend who died before she could get a signed affidavit or a signed admission that she fucking lied in her testimony. She was literally bribed, dude.
The second one, and now we have to end this war. We need a just peace, and we must protect our people, Ukrainian families, Ukrainian children, and everyone from Putin's civil. And we are grateful to America for supporting Ukraine all along. And we'll have an important meeting today, right after I'd talked to President Biden about the plan of victory, and I will share some details of the plan with Vice President Harris. It's crucial for us to be fully understandable and to work in a full coordination with the United States. And this morning I talked also to the congressmen, both chambers, both parties, and I'm thankful for the bipartisan support. We believe this war can be won and just peace can be closer only with a...
Do you think Ukraine is finally making the war too costly for Russia? No, I don't.
With the United States. Madam Vice President.
Yes, my accent wasn't bad. It was a little too French, though.
This is our, you said, seventh meeting?
Seventh.
Yes, and not last. And the sword meeting.
Zelensky is not interested in ending the war. Dog, what are you talking about? Zelensky is not a fucking autonomous actor. Okay? Zelensky is not an actor with autonomy in this process. Okay? It is America that is the primary actor in this process.
As far as I remember, the sword meeting this year.
Yes.
Thank you. And I want to inform you about the latest developments on the battlefield, of course, and about Ukraine's actions in the Kursk region.
Dude, Russia is getting its back blown out? What do you mean? Wait, what? Dude. Look. Fuck Vladimir Putin. But if you're, like, looking at the situation in front of you and going, oh, Ukraine is doing a fantastic fucking job of, like, purging its ranks of the Russian forces, purging its territorial boundaries of the Russian forces, you haven't looked at a fucking map in, like, 3 years, I think. What the fuck are you talking about? Like, Russia has annexed eastern Ukrainian territories all the way to the Dnieper River and has maintained those positions and have also fucking fortified said positions. Like, refresh your fucking maps, chatter. Unless you literally think that, like, the push from Ukrainian forces into Russian territory was, like, a tremendous fucking win for Ukraine. Meanwhile, not only as far as I understand that Ukrainian offensive was neutralized, but also beyond that, in that process, because of the already strained resources of Ukraine, in that process, Russia was able to make territorial gains inside of Ukraine. It's horrifying. I keep up with the war and it's looking pretty bad for them. Also, free Palestine. I mean, free Palestine. It is looking bad for Russia in terms of, like, the amount of humans that they're just throwing into a fucking meat grinder. But I don't think it's like, I wouldn't say that Russia is getting its back blown out when Ukraine is running out of human beings to operate the weapons that we're giving them. This map puts everything into perspective for how bad Ukraine is off. These motherfuckers are building a goddamn land bridge to Transnistria at this point. Oh. Yeah, but Russia can't get half as far as they hope to. Yes, you're not wrong. But that's very different than, like, it's getting its back blown out. Getting its back blown out would be Donetsk, and maybe that's it. No, getting its back blown out would be fucking these lines moving in the direction towards Russia. Okay? It's not. Anyway, CIA Harris did a Russia video today. Yeah, by the way, I mean, when you got critical reporting from Western media that is also reporting on the matters and how bad the Ukraine front line looks like, as Russian forces are through a sequence of horrifying trench warfare and a shit ton of like just throwing bodies at the fucking problem, basically, as they push further and further into Ukraine, 1 inch at a time. And the American media is also covering it with these terms. Like, I don't know what you're reading. I don't know what you're reading that says that, like, they're, you know, they're losing and losing badly. Chatter needs to stay off Reddit. I mean, I don't. Dude, yeah. What they should have done is exactly, they needed a go-getter on the front lines. A man who could bring forward at least 1,000 NATO-trained Afghan soldiers, okay? With fake paperwork. That is what Ukraine needed, and America cut his life short. He's not dead yet, but, and he won't, you know, inshallah, he will never die, but, you know, Mr. Ruth, sir, we need you. They need to deploy Ryan Ruth. Is YouTube clickbait videos that claim Russia is losing big every day? I mean, I don't know. I haven't been paying super close attention. But in terms of like what Ukraine needs at this stage, what Ukraine is asking for over and over again, is the capacity to strike Russian targets inside of Russian soil with long-range ballistic missiles that they've gotten from the United States. America has not given them that clearance to do so, but also giving them that clearance to do so is I don't know. I don't know if that's going to, like, genuinely change the trajectory of the war. Did they give them that clearance today? I think I put a good summary on Ukraine. Read my logs. Ultimately, both Russia's unwillingness. I think Russia got forced state from Ukraine. Oppressed people deserve support against their oppressors. I don't think endless militarization is the solution. Flooding Ukraine with weapons risks prolonging the conflict, escalating violence, and increasing civilian suffering without addressing the root causes. I prioritize diplomacy and peace over military escalation and militarism, not the people on the ground. Instead of more arms, we should push for genuine peace talks, economic aid, and rebuilding efforts to support Ukraine's long-term stability. Ultimately, both Russia's unwillingness to compromise and the West's strategy of supporting Ukraine militarily are significant barriers to peace talks. For negotiations to succeed, there needs to be international pressure on both sides to prioritize diplomacy over military solutions. Okay, well, you didn't say anything different than what I have said, which is that all conflicts end with treaties. I've been saying this since fucking day one. And the quicker you arrive at that position, when you have more leverage, the better. And as time goes by, as the Ukrainian forces wither away as a direct consequence of a lack of manpower, regardless of how many weapons you're giving to Ukraine, or even allowing them to have, like, long-range targeting capabilities be deployed inside of Russian territory, I am not so convinced that this will genuinely change the outcome or the trajectory of Russia's invasion.
Region on what has been achieved and the ambitions ahead. Today we have a new strong support package, as you said, and we have common view on the things that need to be done. We have to keep pressure on Russia to stop the war and to make.
One thing that was, I think, even more instructive than Lindsey Graham and Elizabeth Warren demonstrating the bipartisan nature of and the genuine material interest in our unlimited support for Ukraine that was actually totally fake and not interested in like Ukrainian emancipation, but simply funneling or funding our military industrial complex. Beyond that statement that they both agreed to and repeated, that with 5% of our military budget that we have given to Ukraine, we are, one, offloading all of our refurbished and older weapons. Two, we are able to, create new weapons and more artillery. It's actually great for the American economy. It's a real booster. That's why he went to the Scranton artillery shell facility the other day, which is a really, 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 and I cannot stress this enough, really dangerous prospect for the American future, especially as we are a dying empire. We are going to swing violently and wildly in every direction, it seems. Okay? And claiming that with just 5% of our military budget, without a single American active duty service member dying, we've been able to wither away 50% of our foreign adversaries' military, right? That's fantastic from the eyes of the cold, bloodless calculation from our politicians who don't care about anything really. Having said that, however, I think one of the more informative moments was when Russia was escalating the threat of a nuclear strike. This was early on, where they said they are moving mobile nuclear missile nuclear missile launchers into, I think it was like Belarus or something. And this was a genuinely panic moment, like a genuine panic moment, big red flag, okay? In Trump's universe, the N-word, right? And I recall clearly at the time, very vivid moment, when you had military analysts that went on CNN and basically undermined the severity of nuclear conflict by stating, if Russia deploys a nuke, it'll just be a tactical nuke. It'll be a baby nuke, and it will only hit Ukraine. That was one of the most terrifying things I had ever heard a military analyst say, because in my mind, that was basically softening American sentiment towards nuking an entire part of Ukraine potentially. The fact that they were just talking about that as though it was not that big of a deal, okay, was legitimately terrifying. And it, in my opinion, showed America's lack of interest in the humanity of Ukrainians in this process. What is this? And goods are still flowing into Russia in vast quantities despite sanctions, of how the economic war waged by the G7 is failing. What is this? Ed Conway. Of how eyewitness sanctions rules broken in plain sight. Here's the story of a chart. Here's the chart in question. It shows UK car exports to Russia. When Russia invaded Ukraine, the UK, and for that matter, most of the G7 imposed sanctions on Russia, so exports of cars to Russia stopped. End of story, right? Wrong, because now look at what happened to the exports. Yeah. Yeah. Of course. Russia has never stopped receiving goods from G7 nations because they just get it from a middleman. They get it from Azerbaijan, Georgia, and Kazakhstan. Same with everything else. Most economists and sanctions experts presume cars aren't actually ending up in Azerbaijan or Georgia. They get shuffled around the Caucasus before being funneled into Russia via the back door. That's critical because the lack of data trail connecting the cars to Russia allows the UK motor industry to insist it's not happening, that most of those cars do not indeed end up in Azerbaijan. Bro, how do you think Ramazan Kadyrov literally gets to ride around in a Cybertruck? Like, what do you think that is? That's a flex. That's to be like, look, see, I have a Cybertruck. And apparently Elon Musk figured out which Cybertruck it was and maybe shut it off. Obviously, there is no real tactical purpose of posturing around a fucking battlefield with a goddamn Cybertruck with a weapon attached to the back of it. The problem there is that it's not for real tactical use at all. That is a way to say we have the means. And Elon Musk said that he actually was able to shut it down, if I'm not mistaken. But the next day, there was another Cybertruck, and he was driving around with it again to say we have multiple. There is no tactical advantage whatsoever to a Cybertruck. It's a tactical disadvantage, chat. No shit, there's no tactical advantage to a Cybertruck. A Cybertruck is quite the opposite of a tactical advantage. It is a tactical disadvantage. It's an electric vehicle that actually sucks. Anyway. Car industry says nothing to see here, just an economic boom in the Caucasus, which has also, by the way, suddenly discovered an appetite for drone parts and radar equipment and all the other dual-use goods sanctioned and banned from Russia. Funny that. So, yeah. A few weeks ago, we received the tip-off. Some pictures of the border between Russia and Georgia showing a host of luxury cars waiting to cross. Those cars included many Porsches, Mercedes, BMWs, and 2 Range Rovers. British cars. It seems to be the proof we're looking for. What the fuck? This guy went to the border? There were Porsches, Mercedes, Maybachs, BMWs, high-end Toyota Land Cruisers, seriously expensive cars. Mostly German, but those Range Rovers our contact has sent us weren't there. Milling around the car park were quite a few men. Most didn't want to talk, but some explained what was happening. One man picks up the cars, mostly one at a time, and loads them into a truck. Sometimes they come straight from the port, sometimes elsewhere in the Caucasus. They take them to the border and drop them off in one of 2 makeshift car parks where they wait until the paperwork is done. That paperwork is usually carried out remotely by a separate broker. I mean, it just makes it more expensive. That's it. It's the same process in which, like, you get the same fucking energy, but you get it by way of India. I thought with sanctions, it was understood that some products will still arrive in the country. Yeah, the car example is just one example of a consumer good that's not like a dual use, that doesn't have any sort of dual use. But the way this process works for cars also is the exact same way that it works for drone parts and shit like that. That's it. It's just like one aspect of this process. Yeah, I mean, Israel also refused to give an Iron Dome to Ukraine, but